My name is Jacob Ben-Gorel, and I'm a defense attorney in Stockton, California. I wanted to talk today about aerial drones. This last weekend was 4th of July, and we heard a lot about drones. Drones creating some amazing images in the sky. Also, drones being used to capture those who are utilizing illegal fireworks. While there's great potential for good, we in the criminal defense industry often see these types of technologies being misused. There aren't very many appellate court decisions on this issue. We hope that, well, not necessarily hope. We may have a case that will help shed some light on the Fourth Amendment implications of drone use. We have a case where our client had an incident with a roommate where the police felt the need to go in the house and search to make sure that there was nobody injured and there were no bad guys in the house. Prior to doing that, they knocked out my client's windows and flew a drone from the house to quote unquote clear the house. After they did that, they then physically went into the house. The justification for going into the house without a warrant was that there were exigent circumstances, meaning somebody was dying in the house, there was the threat that there was a bad guy in there that might hurt somebody in the house. But what's interesting about this particular case is that they had already flown that drone in there. So we knew that there was nobody dying or injured in that house, and yet they still went in before going to get the warrant. Now, hopefully we win this case in the trial courts and we don't ever have to make it to the appellate courts. But in the event of the worst case scenario and we end up with a conviction, I think this is a great case for the appellate courts to consider. Did the police still have an emergency, an exigent circumstance to get into that house without first obtaining a warrant? What was the reason that they couldn't just stop everything that they were doing, get a warrant, and then go into the home? That's going to be the issue for the appellate courts if it makes it that far. We also have a case where we had a client that didn't make the best decision in the world and that he was live streaming as he was potentially committing a crime. Well, the police monitor your social media, whether you know it or not. They're on there watching. They use fake accounts. They make it appear that they're just a normal person. And what they're doing is they're seeing, okay, who's out there? So we've had clients in the past that are at a club in the parking lot and they're showing off their guns on social media and the police go out and arrest them. In this case, the client was doing something and they sent a drone over to his location and then they proceeded to follow him around. These drones are being used for a multitude of different purposes. It's not just watching fireworks. You know, they're flying over houses. They're looking at what people have in their backyard and determining whether or not what's in your backyard is illegal. So what the appellate courts are going to say about the use of these drones is going to be interesting, and I'm sure it's going to be a mixed bag, right? It's going to just depend on how far the police have pushed it in a particular case. The point is that this is a new technology that we all need to be aware of. We don't know what the future holds for how these police departments are going to use these drones. We know that the license plate readers around town are scary. When we get those reports about the information that they've received from those license plate readers, it's pretty mind-boggling. Once they identify the vehicle that they want to track, you pretty much can't hide from that thing unless you don't have license plates, and even then there are still ways for them to identify your vehicle without those plates. They can have had cases where after the fact they've identified a vehicle that they want to find and they've gone back weeks to say, okay, where has this vehicle driven over the last few weeks? That's a pretty scary technology, and I know that in England they've started ripping down the license plate readers, and I've seen a little bit on social media about them starting to do that here. I mean, not the police department taking them down, not the city taking them down, but average citizens taking them down. Obviously, you face felony charges for doing that, but those are some pretty scary technologies that we see every day. Similarly, phones. Once they get that phone, there's no limit to the information that they can pull from that. Again, those are some scary search warrants about how much information that they're able to obtain. I mean, we receive PDF files, thousands of pages from cell phones that show what our clients were doing on various apps, text messages, the internet, you name it, we can pretty much see it all when we get those downloads. So this is something the appellate courts are going to have to take up. We're going to have to figure out how far the police can go before the appellate courts say, nope, that's a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. The Fourth Amendment says that the people have a right to be secure in a person's, houses, papers, and effects. And, the Fourth Amendment goes on to say the court shouldn't issue a warrant unless there's probable cause. And that's the issue here, is if we're not even attempting to get the warrant and we don't have probable cause to get that warrant, then why are we allowing these drones to fly in a manner that they can see into homes, they can follow you around public places? I think the court will probably uphold the following around because they've allowed officers to follow citizens around in vehicles, so I don't see that that's going to be overturned. But there are definitely some implications here on violations of Fourth Amendment rights, especially when they use those drones to physically go into your home. Like I said, in a future video, we'll talk about these license plate readers and how they work and the scary nature of how much the government can and is tracking you at all times.